Hey guys, welcome to the Massive Iron Channel. I'm Steve Shaw. In this video, I'm going to talk about how to screw up a bulk and get fat. Before I get into that topic, if you have any questions or comments, drop them down below. The best topic ideas I turn into videos just like this. All right, how to screw up a bulk and get fat. This is a topic I've been thinking about for a while. I want to make a video on it. And the main point of this video is that you should never bulk or eat more aggressively than you are training aggressively in the gym. One of the biggest problems, and let me repeat that, you should never eat more aggressively than you're training, how aggressive your training is in the gym, if that makes sense. You see guys that will hit the gym and they'll do their little bit of work. They're not really passionate about progressive overload. They think they're working out hard. They're doing an okay job, but they're not doing nearly enough. They're not doing what they should be doing, either from lack of education or lack of effort or just a certain degree of cluelessness. Because let's face it, the muscle building process can seem rather complicated. You have just hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of voices out there telling folks different things, and it really gets confusing, and you can't always blame the lifter. Certainly there's a degree of, hey, training is hard. The amount of how you need to train to build muscle is hard, but there's also a lot of confusion. So anyway, back to the topic. Folks that are out eating their training, right? They're eating so much food. They're aggressively bulking, but their training is mediocre. This is the biggest mistake. Before you do any form of a bulk or a long-term bulk, you need to make sure, and if you are not sure, you need to do your research. You need to find out, you need to ask somebody like me, or you need to ask somebody that knows how to build muscle. Is your training in place? Now, from there, once you know your training is in place, it's where it needs to be, you still can't just jump in and bulk aggressively. You also need to understand how much muscle you have left to build. So if you are somebody, let's say, for example, you got two different guys, right? You have a skinnier guy, maybe 145 pounds with 12.5-inch arms, 13-inch arms, and he has a long way to go as far as muscle building. And then you have another guy with 15.5-inch arms who's rather lean, say 18% body fat, and he doesn't really know how he's doing, but when you look at him on paper, he's added quite a bit of muscle mass already. So you have two scenarios. You have the newbie who might be training appropriately, and he has smaller arms, 13.5 inches, and you have the intermediate who has 15.5-inch arms. They should not bulk equally, because the more muscle mass you have already built, the less muscle mass you have left to build naturally, if that makes sense. So basically, the more muscle mass you build, the less aggressive your bulk should be. Now, I'm going to get some questions on this, and I'll dive into that a little bit more in just a second, so hold on. But if you are a noob that hasn't built a lot of muscle mass, you can bulk more aggressively if your training is where it should be. If you're in an intermediate, there should be no aggressive bulking. That's just a way to get fat. So, again, just to stress the point of this video, your bulking should never be more aggressive than your training. So get your training where it needs to be. And if you're not sure, follow one of my routines. Follow one of the many quality routines on the internet that have a defined progressive overload approach. Now, just to end cap this video, how much muscle mass can you expect to build? Well, I'm going to give you some general guidelines, and some people get get all upset because they consider this a rule. But for naturals, this has been studied, and this is a reasonable set of numbers. Generally, over the course of their life, a natural male can add maybe 30 to 35 pounds of muscle mass. If, and I want you to understand me here, they are not underweight to begin with. Because if you are, let's say you're 16, 17 years old, you weigh 125 pounds, your body can gain more than that because you're just kind of getting back up to speed. You haven't finished puberty yet. You've not fully become where you should be. And you have a little bit more muscle mass to gain just to get at a normalized body weight. But speaking for the average normal male, they can gain about 30 to 35 pounds of muscle mass, which is a substantial amount, to the point that most men will never get that far. Probably 95% of men never get to that 30 to 35% range, or probably never get, above 25 pounds of muscle mass. I'm just speaking out of my ass with generalizations, but it's probably fairly accurate. So 30 to 35 pounds of muscle mass. Here's what you need to know. If you don't gain it early on, you don't lose it. Think of it as water in a cup. How much water whatever amount of water you have left in that cup, or whatever water you have in that cup, that's your natural muscle mass potential over the course of your life. If you just take a little out the first couple of years, you still have the full potential left. Now, here's generally how the rate of muscle gains goes. That glass of water, no matter how, it's 30 to 35 pounds, or let's say 30 to 35 ounces of water, because we're using that analogy. Each year you train appropriately, you can gain about half of what you have left. So first year, a lifter can expect to gain 15 to 16 pounds of muscle mass if they are doing everything right, and very few people do everything correctly. But if you have the potential to gain half of that your first year, 15 to 16 pounds of muscle, how aggressive should your bulk be? Well, it should maybe 20, 25 pounds over the course of the first year. But again, you can't bulk more aggressively than you're training. So if you are trying to put on 20 to 25 pounds your first year, and your training sucks balls, your training sucks big, hairy, stinky, skanky, cheesy balls, it's just a fat gain program. That's the point of this video. You can't bulk more aggressively than you're training, because if you do, you're just turning your bulk into a fat gaining program. Now, let's say you've gained your half of that your first year, and you have like 15 to 16 pounds of muscle to gain the rest of your life. You're an intermediate lifter, or your second year lifter, and you have the potential to gain 7 to 8 pounds of muscle mass. Your bulk, you probably should aim to gain maybe 10 to 12 pounds during that period. So you can see you're eating less aggressively during that period of time. If you've done that, and you only have like 7 to 8 pounds of muscle to gain the rest of your, if you've done that, you're better than 95% of lifters that try to pack on muscle mass. But if you get to that last stage, we're only up 7 to 8 pounds away from your natural muscle mass potential. You're only looking at gaining 3 to 4 pounds that next year. And, you're looking at a 5 to 6 pound gain. This is where you see a lot of guys make mistakes. They experience really quality gains, and they'll go and they'll continue to eat aggressively, and they'll get really, really fat just to put on 4, 5, 6 pounds of muscle mass a year. And that's really a bad way to go. I mean, power lifters, yeah, if you're after end limit strength, it's probably a very rapid way of packing on that muscle mass, but you're going to get fat and unhealthy in the process. But it's your life, so do whatever the heck you want to do. But if you don't know how to train, that's where things really, really get dangerous. That's where you turn your aggressive bulk into an aggressive fat gain program. So if you don't know how to train properly, if you're sitting there and you're like, what does it mean if I'm training properly? How long have you been in the gym? Are you satisfied with your muscle gains? Does it feel like you're not doing anything? Then something's broken, because if you're doing it right, you will see very aggressive progress your first year to 2 years in the gym. So guys, hope this video has been of some help. If you have any questions or comments, drop them down below. If you made it this far in this video and have yet to subscribe to my channel, please do. I'd appreciate the support. So guys, as always, thanks for watching. Have a great day.